Okay, guys, for those of you who may be live with me already on Instagram, welcome. And we should be live on all of the other networks. Um, Making sure that we got everything going. Daryl, you should be connected on Instagram. I hope that you are there. And let me get here. Good evening, everybody. Good evening. Welcome back to day 2 of 3 Steps to Wealth Creation, right? This is day 2. On yesterday, we talked about things that hinder your potential growth in your personal finance. I see you. What's going on, Daryl? Talk to me.
I'm not connected on Instagram. Just letting you know that I'm not there. I sent the request, but you haven't accepted it yet.
Okay. I'm trying to get that done, sir. So in the process of building this, we wanted to make sure that you have your workbook. So if you don't have your workbook, it's going to be very difficult for you to follow along with us, because the workbook is something that we ask all of you to go ahead and send an email, and you send that email to journey@iamrobwilson.com. And once you send that email, you would then receive another email back to you, giving you the opportunity to download the workbook. And the workbook is simply a PDF, and this PDF will allow you to instantly download that and follow us. On last night, we talked about a number of things that we wanted you to do and what we wanted you to consider as it relates to creating your financial wealth. So those of you that's following me on YouTube, on the Facebook channels, if you see me moving from one channel to the next channel, it's only because I'm doing like 5 different networks at one time, 5 different networks. So I want to make sure I pay everyone some attention. I want to make sure we pay everyone some attention as we move forward. So what I want to do before I start doing the recap is remind you that one of the things that we hope to do is to change the speed of wealth creation for you and your family. How do we change the speed of wealth creation for you and your family? Last night, we talked about putting together the foundation. And the foundation begins more or less with knowledge, understanding, vision, insight, things that you need to know, because, and then recognizing what may come against you. What may come against you. Now, if you are joining this live video, again, my name is Robert Wilson. I prefer Rob Wilson. We do talk radio. I've done talk radio here in Atlanta for 15 years. I'm an ambassador for the state of Georgia. The Secretary of State made me an ambassador because of my financial literacy programs that we were teaching kids in elementary school. Been on the Financial Literacy Commission with the U.S. Treasury and the White House. So I've been teaching personal finance for a very long time. I've been teaching credit for a very long time, money management, budgeting, and all of those things that impacts your financial life. So what we're trying to do now, as I said last night, I want to develop a core group of people, like an investment club, right? But you're not putting your money in no pot. You're not putting your money away in somebody else's opportunity to make money on you. We're going to create the atmosphere that you will learn how to invest, that you will learn how to review stocks. This idea, I don't believe in this, and it's a good practice. It's a very good practice, but I don't believe in it. Honestly, I'm gonna tell you now. But when people tell you to, pick a few stocks and just put them on your watch list and watch and see what they do. Listen, if you're gonna watch a stock, buy a stock. What's the point of watching something go boom and you sitting there looking on the sideline? That's like being a spectator at a game. You watching them play football. Yeah. Did he get a touchdown? Did he score? Yes. What was the impact for you? So I don't want you to just watch. Now, will we watch some stocks and see what come out of that? Absolutely. Last night, I saw some of the messages and comments and some direct messages that came through to us. And I saw someone asked a question about inflation. And so tonight, when I do the recaps, I want to add inflation into one of my recaps. Even though we didn't talk about it, we're going to talk about it tonight. Because I believe that when people start throwing terms at you like inflation, the rate of inflation will impact your money, that's absolutely true. But if you buy a house, you're going to have maintenance on your house. Do you not buy the house because you're going to have maintenance on the house? No. You buy the house because you know the overall value and the appreciated value of that property is going to grow and you're going to prosper from it. So you don't have fear of inflation. You don't have fear of interest rates. You don't have fear of those things. When you are taught how to manage money properly, those things are not concerns that you will have. So remember, last night we talked about changing the speed of how you live, changing the speed of how you save, changing the speed of debt elimination, changing the speed of investing, changing the speed of your retirement. We talked about one of the things that I really want to stand out in your mind from last night, and I told you, was about your net worth. How I want you to begin to look at how do you track your net worth. And for those of you that's going to follow us over the next tonight and tomorrow night, and then want to move forward with creating. Now, let me say this. Moving forward requires you to devote your own time to your financial situation. Your own time to your financial situation. I'm going to weekly send you things to do that's different from what I do in my classes that I teach. Now, I will make a requirement, probably down the road to say, hey, like, you know what? You might need to take the class where we talk about mindset, for like 4 weeks, where we talk about money management for 4 weeks, where we talk about debt elimination for 8 weeks, where we put all that stuff into one big package. And even still then, if you're taking those classes, some of you on this call have taken those classes. And if you're taking those classes, we still are going to feed you information now that you never seen. If you have downloaded the workbook, I want you to look at the contract agreement. And I want you to, please do not fill that out now. Tomorrow night, we'll talk about the contract agreement, because I want you to know why you're going to make a commitment. But I want you to go through this aspect first so that you can understand, do I really want to make this type of commitment? Do I really want to change the flow of my financial life? Do I want to get in a position to where wealth creation is a process of my daily life? Aren't you fed up working every week, time and time again, just to pay bills? I mean, seriously. And then aren't you tired of people coming to you with various scams? I call them scams, but they give them to you like they are opportunities, but they're not opportunities. It's opportunity for prosperity for them. But when people start telling you to do all of these crazy little things, and I may touch on some of them tonight, but you have seen them, you've gone through them. You've heard about them. Increase your number of dependents on your taxes because the government, the government won't hold your money. Things of that nature. Buy a 6,000-pound vehicle so you can write it off. Open up a trust account. You don't have any money in the bank. Why do you need a trust account? You haven't did the basics. And we're going to talk about that tonight. But let's do a recap from last night. Last night, one of the things that we realized, and if you have your workbook, you can go to session 2, the building. Last night we talked about the foundation. So we're going to recap the foundation. What is it about the foundation? Your knowledge, your wisdom, your understanding. How do you provide, protect, and preserve a way of life for you and your family, right? So, and tonight we're going to talk about establishing the best financial solution for you. So if we do a recap, a true financial solution should, the word there is solve. It should solve your problems. It should not push your situation down the road. It should not cause you to file bankruptcy. So when you have a true financial foundation, when you're looking at real financial solutions, you're not considering bankruptcy. That's not an option for you. Number two, common solutions that have forced our income challenge communities to do things that they shouldn't do. The things that have hindered most people from becoming financially successful: payday loans, bankruptcy, pawn shops, downsizing or living below your means. Oh, wow, I said living below your means. You're like, hold it, what do you mean living below my means? You know, that should be good, right? No. There's no motivation living below your means. I was listening to a conversation of a lady on TV earlier today. I can't think of the program. And she was saying to the gentleman, she was like, so you want my kids to sit around and wonder where the next, what you call those chick pot pies is coming from? And I was like, wow. But, you know, poor people, like pot pies. They eat a lot of pot pies. They eat a lot of ramen noodles. They eat a lot of things that are not healthy. That is below your means. That same money can buy you the things that you need. You just have to believe that. You have to trust that. You have to act in faith that these are the appropriate things for you to do. Your solution should both eliminate and accumulate at the same time. Any situation that you find yourself in financially, that you are only chasing one, and you don't have accumulation. Accumulation should be number one. Accumulation. What am I talking about when I'm talking about accumulation? Saving, investing, buying assets, appreciating assets, not assets that's going to depreciate. That's important. That's very important to recognize. Eliminating debt, becoming debt-free. How many of you, here's a good question. How many of you at the start of the new year, every year, said, this year I'm gonna become debt-free? And me and Daryl, we go around at it sometimes. We box a little bit because I don't like to use the word debt-free. Personally, I don't. But I understand the dynamics of it and the mindset of how people receive that, right? But my perception of debt-free is a homeless person is debt-free. A homeless person is debt-free. They carry no assets. So when I think of that, and I'm thinking of, wow, you know, people want to become debt-free. I want you to think about wealth creation. How do I turn $100 into $1,000? How do I take $1,000 and turn it into $10,000? How do I create a financial portfolio? And I'm not talking about going out here selling anything. I'm talking about using your real money, your money. Your money is a seed. And if you don't operate with your money as a seed, then it will not produce for you. It will not reproduce. Interest and credit are not issues that you should concern yourself with. Now, I know some of you are going to probably say to me, Rob, what do you mean, man? All of us need credit. Yeah, you know, most of us do need credit. And a lot of us do talk about getting credit and having credit and what we can do with credit, right? Credit is something that we pursue. Am I against you pursuing credit? No, I'm not against it. But I want you to understand some dynamics about credit. And I want you to just play along with me with something, okay? I want you to play along with me. I want you to consider a couple of things that you have going on in your life. And then I want you to look at what goes on around you. Name to me at least one wealthy person that you know talks about or use credit as a tool for their financial life. Now, I know, a couple of rappers have started talking about credit scores and everything. They're doing that because that's a good community thing to do. It hasn't changed anything in the community. Russell Simmons created the Rush card. Magic Johnson had the Magic card. All of these guys had things that was supposed to help you create and build credit, but they don't. Now you got Green Dot, I think is the card of choice now. So what is credit? Is credit necessary? Yes. And let me put this out here so people will understand something. You can get credit with a bad credit score. The only difference about getting credit with a good score and a bad score is what you pay for it. That is taking us into where we're going into tonight's lesson. But before I get there, I want you to write a brief statement about financial accomplishments that you've had. I want you, and you don't have to do them right now, but I want you to really think about some of the financial accomplishments that you've had, and then some of the financial failures. I want you to write about some of the things that have influenced you or disrupted your financial life or your financial goals. I want you to write those things down. I think it's important that we identify. I'm going to tell you something. One of the things that hindered me many years ago, I used to think that wealthy people was, stuck up. I used to think that people with money didn't care. I really did. And it wasn't until I began to meet wealthy people, sit down and talk with wealthy people. They are kind of funny. I imagine, how would you be if everyone knew that you was rich and everywhere you went, somebody was hitting you up for money? How would you be? How would you feel? You feel like, can I find just a real friend, someone to have a normal conversation with? And if that's the case, then who is that person? Where will you find that person? And how will you and that person begin to do the things that you want to do? Wealthy people are not bad people. They're no different than most people. Wealthy people make bad decisions, some of them. Money sometimes exposes who you really are. But most wealthy people do more for communities than most people ever see because they don't want to be seen. I know a millionaire right here in Atlanta, Georgia, who has a personal mission to create 80 millionaires before he died. And he is actively out there doing that. He didn't put up a billboard. He don't want a billboard up saying, hey, I want to create 80 people and turn them into millionaires. What he does is he seeks them out. Go do the work. Put yourself in the right position. Okay, that's a whole nother conversation. That is totally a whole nother conversation. Let's move into tonight's class. What we're going to talk about tonight. My financial blueprint. I want to talk about the blueprint. And it's very easy for me to say to you that a financial blueprint consists of only a budget. And it does in a large part. But there's two other types of prints that's inside of that blueprint. So your financial blueprint consists of two elements. What are they? Your footprint and your fingerprint. I'm speaking financially. You have a financial footprint, you have a financial fingerprint, and they are very different. When you establish your financial fingerprint, one of the things, well, let me say, when you establish your footprint, let me do the footprint first. Your footprint becomes that management system that you use that really allows you or allow others to see the standards of what you have done in your goals and how you reach the goals that you've set. Your financial fingerprint is going to be the elements that you use to do that. You know, did you get on do you have a mortgage? Do you have installment loans? Do you have relationships with your bank? You know, like most people only do banking, and in the process of doing banking, they are only doing free checking. Free checking. Free checking is for poor people. Banks bank on the fact, and you hear these statements in the public. You hear some of my colleagues and some of the people who are trying to get in this industry, calling themselves financial coaches. They're telling you, you're not going to make any money in the bank, take your money, lend your money out, and only pay you a little bit of interest. This is true. But the bank has a more powerful aspect to it than that. The bank does much more. So if you hear someone tell you that story, that's a person who do not understand finance. And let me say this loud and clear. Anybody that tells you that a bank is not a relationship that you will profit from does not understand finance. They do not understand wealth creation. In the banking arena, you have personal banking, you have investment banking, you have wealth management. And I want you to just write those down on a piece of paper somewhere. Personal banking, investment banking, and wealth management. And I would like for you to explore that. You know, before you beat me up and say, well, Rob don't know what he's talking about. Oh, that's too simple. Go look at the three dynamics of those things. When you start understanding the three dynamics of personal banking, well, let me give it to you. Personal banking is that core banking where you build up your checking and your savings account, your money market account, and you have more than the average daily balance. Some of you like to call your emergency fund or something like that. You'll never hear me talk about an emergency fund. I don't believe in an emergency fund. You cannot save enough money. If you operate from the position that I cannot save enough money, then you would save beyond, 3 months, 6 months. You're going to save for life. You're going to save for generations. Broke people always try to reach out for 3 months. Wealthy people is reaching out for years. It's sort of like when people saying, hey, listen, we're not running a 100-yard dash here. We're not running a 100-yard dash in the financial arena. We are running a marathon. We have a long way to go. So we have to do a lot of work. We have to put in a lot of work. So when you're saving and investing and you're dealing with a bank, you understand checking, saving, money market becomes the financial tools that you need. If you decide that you want to go and invest in Tesla, IBM, Nike, Coca-Cola, Delta, couple of weed stocks, and all of a sudden you got, let's say, about $40,000 in the stock market and it's growing. You're doing exceptionally well. And you have a financial crisis and you don't have that checking and savings account there that should be established to allow you to do various things, right? So now you have to go into the stock market, pull money out, and now you have to pay taxes and penalties. Why would you give up 30% of your money? Why? You shouldn't do that. That's why when we talk about wealth accumulations, and you're going to see that in some of what we talk about the rest of the night, that is important that you understand. I need a banking account. I need a savings account. I need a money market account. That becomes your foundational money that you now have to rescue you in a crisis. But it'll also give you flexibility. Allows you to go somewhere. If you're in a store, you see something that you want, you buy it. If you're traveling somewhere and you want to buy something, it doesn't compromise your household if you do so. It doesn't compromise your ability to build your retirement if you do so. We're going to talk about another source of income too, called dividends. Wow. Right? What is dividends? Do you know that money begets money, right? Everybody will agree with me. Money begets money. So if we know that money begets money, we need to find the process, the vehicles that allow our money to produce and create more money for us. And if you do it right, it can pay you monthly, it can pay you quarterly, it can pay you annually. And now you got your money reproducing. It's called dividends. We're going to talk more about that. But your financial fingerprint becomes the one most important thing. So when you build the right footprint and the right financial fingerprint, credit issues are solved. You're not worried about a credit score. You're not worried about, can I get these many points on my credit? What you're doing now is when you start doing this, when you start saving, you start seeing this increase. And then this increase go beyond that, then it start going, and this increase continues. Once you begin to have increase, your savings will cause an effect on your spending that it will choke off. So if you say, well, I just love to spend. No, you're going to start, I just love to save. Because saving creates an element for you and a convenience that you know what, I can't even give you the amount of joy that you will have once you start. You know, one of the things I like to do in a class is I like to ask people a question. I'm like, how long have you been working? I want you to write down the number of years that you can say, I actually worked a full year. How many years have I worked a full year? And you write that number down. Let's say it's 10 years, 20 years, 15 years. Now, here's a small secret, right? For every year that you work, you should have been able to save at least $1,000. And I'm not talking about in a 401k. I'm not talking about in a company pension plan. I'm not talking about in some type of program that was set up with your employer. I'm talking about in your checking, savings, and money market account. You should have been able to save $1,000 a year. You're like, Rob, that's ridiculous. You know, man, I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I can't do that. You know, I've been on the job 10 years. I should have, are you saying I should have $10,000 in my personal account? Yes. You know what that translates to? Less than $20 a week. Yeah. So think about your work career and think about the one aspect that you have wasted more than $20 a week every day of your work history, every day of your work life. And in some instances, you waste much more than that. So in order to take back control of your financial situation, we're suggesting that you take your money back and you do other stuff with it. Am I saying pay yourself first? No. We're going to pay ourselves first in a different way. Right now, we're going to make sure that we save at least a 20 every week so that we can move forward. So here we are right now in the month of May. Every one of you that's on this Zoom should increase your savings by a minimum of $500 by the end of this year. A minimum of $500. One thing you have to put aside $20 a week. The idea of what I'm trying to do is to get you comfortable with savings. You have to organize your finances. You have to organize your finances. You have to organize the things that you want to accomplish. You have to organize your money in a way that you can see a financial future for you and your family. Yeah, we're going to talk about investing. But before we do that, you have to know what your current financial situation is. You have to determine every aspect of your financial life. You know, people have oftentimes asked me, well, Rob, what is the cause of the financial gap? You know, I'm not going to give you any stats. I mean, the stats are just horrible when you look at the stats as it relates to our debt, the amount of debt that we carry in our community. When we look at the amount of savings that we don't have in our community, when they look at the projections of what our actual net worth will be 20 years from now. It's crazy. It's just ridiculous. And I fight every day, every single day. I fight to give you stronger numbers, powerful numbers, because you deserve them. And the only thing that you have to do is manage your money differently and have a different focus. You know, so what is the difference between the gap of poor and wealthy? Poor people continually do the things that keep them poor. Wealthy people continue to do the things that keeps them wealthy. What are you doing? What are you continually doing with your financial life? How many of you say, well, I got a budget already? How many of you are actually managing that budget? How many of you would say, well, you know, I had a budget, it didn't work for me, I'm doing something else? How many of you know how long it would take you to get out of complete total debt? I know if those of you who have taken my classes, you got a debt freedom date already. But do you know you can actually know a date that you can be out of debt completely? And not only will you have a date to be out of debt, you will know how much wealth that you could potentially accumulate in that same time frame. And when I say the amount of wealth that you will accumulate, that's a small number because it doesn't factor in your ability to invest over that same period. If you're investing in the right stocks, if you're looking at the right IPOs, or if, you know, I probably shouldn't talk about this, but a very dear friend of mine worked for a company many years ago. And the company gave them owner stocks. Owner stocks is when you don't go public. Owner stocks is saying, hey, I'm gonna give you a share of the company and you could, you know, blah, blah, blah. And, you know, people can trash them, or you can keep them, or you can sell them, or you can give them back to the company. You don't have to aggravate them. You don't have to make them a part of your life. When I worked for Equifax many years ago, man, when they were putting those stock options out there, I was grabbing them like crazy. I sure was. When I worked for First Financial Management Corporation, when I worked for TransUnion, every time they put stock options on the table, I took them. I sure did. And I wasn't a financial coach at that time. I was just following the lead of other wealthy people that I saw. It wasn't possible for me to sit around wealthy people and watch them get wealthy, and I wouldn't take that same process. There are so many different things that we can begin to do. One of the things that I want you to start doing is I want you to start creating a financial situation where it's automatic in your life. I want you to automate your financial life. I want your savings to be automatic. I want your investing to be automatic. I want your bill pay to be automatic. I want everything that you do financially to building your foundation and creating wealth. I want it to become automatic for you. You know, a good friend of mine is David Bach. And I don't mind plugging other people's books. But David Bach created a book many years ago called The Automatic Millionaire. And it's a great book. It's a great read. But he was talking about how you can automate your financial situation so everything is done. Your money come in, it goes. It take care of the things it need to take care of. And you're doing it deliberately, deliberate acts. If you want to begin to change your financial situation and your wealth creation, you have to become deliberate. You have to become intentional. Your monthly transfers and everything, you have to be intentional. You have to be intentional. So again, if you are joining this live conference and you haven't sent an email to journey@IamRobWilson to get the workbook, I highly recommend that you do so, because if you don't have that, moving forward, you will not be able to work with us, because we want the people to have that workbook. We want you to have that as the foundation, because in 6 months, we intend to change your financial life forever. For those of you who have no financial portfolio at all right now, you own no stocks, by the end of this year, you're going to have at least 5 stocks in your portfolio. At least 5. Okay. Those of you that got a couple of, you've been doing this, you've been doing that. Tomorrow night, we're going to talk about some things about cash flow and things that you can get with your money, how the bank is one source of wealth creation, but there's other sources of wealth creation as well. But you can't just pursue wealth creation without, one, creating the foundation. Secondly, organizing your resources. What am I talking about, organizing your resources? Creating a budget. Creating a budget. Everybody we do business with have a budget. Last night, I gave you this little, I played this little number game with you. 1 + 1 = 2, right? And then I said 1 and 1 is 11. Right? 1 and 1 is 11. And then I told you to read Deuteronomy 1:11, right? Deuteronomy 1:11, there's a promise there. And that promise is to multiply 1,000 times. As we talk about investing, I want you to take your money, your seed, and invest that seed and multiply it 1,000 times. How do you do that? How do you do that and understand the foundation for which you're doing it? How do you begin to set up and create a legacy for you and your family? Create a budget. Create a budget. Your financial position is unique. Your household is unique. Your budget is unique. And you have to take in consideration the things that you like to do, how you like to do them. COVID has been a blessing and a curse for a lot of people. A lot of people haven't had the opportunity to spend money. So therefore, they built up their savings and they are anxious to do something with that savings. That's a good thing. That's a very good thing. A lot of people, the pandemic hurt them. They have a struggle. They have a struggle. And in that struggle, it makes it difficult for them to provide, protect, and preserve a way of life for their families. What I want to involve you in and get you to start doing is creating a foundation for you and your family. providing, protecting, and preserving a way of life. Your takeaways for tonight. A true financial solution solves problems. They don't push your obligations down the road. A true financial solution both eliminates and accumulates at the same time. Are you doing that right now currently in your life? Listen, we ain't got no magic rub. We ain't got no silver bullet. You know, this is going to take some work, guys. But it's going to be our knowledge and understanding that gets us to that next level. You know, I enjoy telling people or sharing with people the definition of the word power, the capacity and the ability to act and perform effectively. You know, money in your hands is a powerful tool. It's a powerful shelter. It's a powerful convenience. But it's only recognized when you do the right things with it. When you use it in a manner and a way that will benefit you and your family for the rest of your life, that you could pass it on to the next generation. Another takeaway, reframing your money relationship. What is your relationship like with your money? Seriously. Do you call your money disposable? A diaper is disposable. Pampers are disposable. Money, it does not ever fall into a disposable category. Never. Never a disposable category. Find another word for it, but don't use disposable. If you believe that words have power, never associate disposable to your money. Never. Your economy, your financial economy, your financial future is going to be impacted by every decision that you make. Tomorrow night is the last night. As I wrap up, tomorrow night is the last night. Tomorrow night, we're going to talk about the expansion. And what I talk about tomorrow night is going to be very, very interesting, because I'm going to really point out some things that you could do at various levels. But everything that we talk about tomorrow means absolutely nothing if you skip over the foundation and the building. If you skip over the basic principles of money management. I know it sounds simple. I know it's not some magical rub and some elegant, positioning that people are telling you about that you can do. But it works. It works. It really works. And the only thing I'm asking you to do, give yourself an opportunity to try it. Listen, we are responding to any questions or comments that you have, and we're going to do that from all of the networks. So if you have any questions or comments, feel free to either DM Daryl Fun or to send them directly to me, Rob Wilson, and share with your family. I think it's important, especially tomorrow night. People are going to want to know, how do you turn money over? How do you make an investment better? We're going to talk about some of those things very briefly. But the most important piece is, I want you to make a decision tomorrow. That decision is right there in that notebook, in that workbook that you have. Will you be willing to commit yourself to those things? That's the cost. That's the high price of what you're going to need to do. And if you can make those commitments, then my commitment to you is, I will ensure you that you will save and invest money. And by the end of this year, you will have 5 stocks I don't know how much money you'll be able to save because everybody's household is going to be different. But everybody will have a financial portfolio. A real financial portfolio consisting of 5 products. And they may or may not be in the same industry. They may be domestic, they may be commodities, they may be fuel, they may be transportation, they may be weed, they may be pharmaceutical, they may be medical, they may be a number of things. But I'm gonna get you in the market. But it's gonna be based on your choice and your opportunities. Hey, listen, guys, I gotta wrap this up. Any questions? Daryl, do you have anything you want to say to them before we get out?
Yeah, one thing in closing, just want to make sure.
Unmute yourself, sir.
I should be unmuted. The one thing that I want to make sure that everybody who's out there.
Still can't hear you, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. We can hear you now.
All right. So the one thing I wanted to make sure that everybody is able to do is I've been watching YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, just kind of keeping track of posts and questions and things that you may have or things that you may want to say. But one thing we want to make sure that you all do is right now, if you go to budgetaction.com, that's budgetaction.com, and for free, you can actually find out what your debt freedom date is, and you can find out exactly how much money you save at the exact same time. So go to budgetaction.com, fill out the budget. It's totally free. We're not going to send you any kind of crazy emails or robocalls or anything like that. We're just going to get your information and we're going to show you. It's going to calculate it for you. It'll take maybe about 3 to 5 minutes for you to fill it out once you get it. And actually on tomorrow, you put in your debt freedom date in one of our chat windows and we will have a prize for you. So that goes out to everybody who's watching on YouTube, on Facebook, on Instagram. Put in your debt freedom date tomorrow when we start class, and we will actually have a prize for you. All right, that's all I wanted to say.
Are you going to have a prize for everybody, sir?
Everybody who goes in there and puts in their information and then comes back and puts their date inside the chat, either on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube, any one of those 3, we got a prize for them. That's everybody who does.
Now you heard it from him directly.
Heard it from me.
Well, listen, guys, listen, I want you to walk away tonight with one thought on your mind. Do I want to provide, protect, and preserve a way for my family and create a legacy? If that's the case, then we'll see you back here tomorrow night. 7 o'clock. It's the final night. I promise you, I'm gonna try not to keep you more than 45 minutes to an hour, and we're gonna be done with it. And those of you who want to move forward, then we'll start that process. We'll start that little private club that we're gonna have. And I'm gonna tell you something. Once we start the club, we're not gonna just let anybody else in. It's just us. And I'm gonna connect with you and you'll know who you are. Because we're going to be doing the same work together. But you're doing it in your household, they're doing it in theirs. Okay? We're going to use the same principles, same applications, different households, different numbers. So listen, guys, I really do appreciate you for taking out your Saturday, joining us. And we'll see you tomorrow night at 7 o'clock to wrap this up. Don't forget, if you don't have the workbook, it's senseless to be a part of this if you don't have the workbook. The workbook is at journey@IamRobWilson.com. You'll get an email back, check your spams, and download the PDF and follow us along there from there. Thank you, guys. We'll see you. Have a great night.